Hello, you are listening to On The Topic podcast, and we've got a bit of a Q&A for you this week, but this episode is being recorded in the past for the future at the present. No, we didn't get DeLorean. If we did, we would have stopped COVID, but I'm Dan.
And it sounds like someone's seen Tenet, even though I don't quite understand what happened in that film. I'm Alex. Have you seen Tenet yet, Dan, actually?
No, do you know what? I need to still watch it. I need to get on there. You've
basically just, I think, described Tenet, even though I'm not quite sure if that's an accurate description. It's a really interesting concept. But I just think Nolan has kind of thought, how can I make the most Nolan film possible? And he's written it down. And he's gone, yeah, let's do that. It's absolutely nuts. But it is very intelligent, super intelligent. Talks about entropy, time travel. Yeah, it's very smart. But I just reckon it's a bit too smart.
But anyway, who knows? I might have watched it by the time this episode drops because, I don't know when this episode is going to drop.
Quite, because this Dan is not your stereotypical Q&A, is it? This is coming back from a different angle this week.
Yeah, so we're being interviewed for Portsmouth through a local journalist writer, Leah Holford. Firstly, I just want to make sure that people read the article first. It'll be nicely sort of refined, make us sound more articulate. But please go and follow It's Leah Holford on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. And of course, she does have a blog. It's leahholford.wordpress.com.
The good thing is, just to save Dan any embarrassment, I've also put links in the description below in the episode notes. So we've got ourselves covered, Dan and Leah. So, have a look at that first. Have a read, because as Dan said, we probably come off a little bit better in written form than audio. But then you're listening to us, you know that already by now. But yeah, this is more of the conversation version of that, I guess.
Yeah. So Leah, we're getting this before any of you, which is crazy, and it just all sounds weird talking about time and us recording now for the future. That's. Do you know what? Let's not get confused by all this malarkey.
No. Let's just get into it.
Let's do it. So we've got a series of questions which we've got to answer for Leah. And
Dan, we've also got a couple from, is it our listeners have thrown in a couple as well?
There is a couple that, Leah was happy for us to add to as well.
Smashing.
So it's going to be a little bit different. I don't think we've actually been asked any of these in our previous AMAs. We usually do an AMA for our birthdays, right?
Yep.
Some good stuff out there.
No, there is, and I'll put those in the links in the description below. But no, these are the really good ones, actually. And we haven't discussed this, listener, so you're hearing it for the first time as much as Dan and I. And there's quite a few to get through. So I guess we'll take it in turns, Dan, but I guess you can kick us off with the first one.
Okay, so the first question is, how did you both meet?
Sorry, I gotta keep on doing this. Have you ever seen Mr. and Mrs.?
Is that the Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt film?
No, that's Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which actually I think is quite underrated. It's actually quite good. I quite like that film. No, this is the poor British TV game show where famous couples go on and they go between a divider and it's usually Philip Schofield, the Silver Fox, as we know in the UK. For our foreign listeners, they have no idea what we're talking about, but you can Google him. He's a good-looking chap. Anyway, and they'll ask him questions, and then they write down on like a board, and they show the camera what the answer is. It feels like that, because I actually genuinely not quite sure what the answer to this question is, Dan. So I'd be really interested to know what your spin on it is about how we both met.
Well, I can answer this question. So I met my other half through online dating back in September 2014. And she told me about this group of friends called the Unacceptables. Now, the Unacceptables is, of course, made up of yourself and 7 other individuals. And she was always quite keen for me to meet you guys, because you were all very close. And I believe we first met, and this is my first memory of you, Alex. We first met at a party.
Feedback.
Easter weekend 2015. And I remember it was Easter weekend because at the time I was working retail and I didn't have to work the next day. So I was quite happy to come to this party and get a bit merry.
It was a house party, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good. My memory is aligned to yours. That's fantastic. First time for everything.
Yeah, house party in Fratton, just round the corner from where I'm living now. And I turned up. I met you all. And I think you got me relatively drunk, if I recall. There was some sorts of weird concoctions of like alcoholic foam and God knows what.
Yeah, it's usually Rob. He likes his foam contraptions. I think actually they're probably out of date, from his Halloween party 6 months prior. But yeah, that probably just about rings a bell. When you could gather with people in an indoor setting and have a party, at least legally, anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. Close group of friends, really good house party actually. Really enjoyed it. Not that anyone's looking for a stunning review of it, but it was a good house party. And as per usual, we all found our space and our niche in the lounge, and yes, we welcomed you with open arms, Dan. And it was a great time, as you say. It probably is accurate that I probably got you more drunk than I was, but such is the way of inducting someone into a group. I guess you got to see how they stand up.
Indeed.
You did.
I embraced it. I embraced it with open arms, and I've got some really good friends from it.
Here. Well, that's the first one. Yeah. So we fast forward 4 years, 4.5 years. So how did the On the Topic start? Well, On the Topic, I'm going to take us back a little bit more, about 2.5 years from that. So it's actually the weekly roundup with Alex and Dan. And I mean, my background, for those who don't know, I've 4 years now and been doing hospital radio. So I do hospital radio Monday nights currently with the team at St. Richard's in Chichester. It's volunteer work. It's for charity, but it's just a nice thing to do, right? And I've always enjoyed it. I've always had a bit of fun because who doesn't want to whack on a playlist and play their music out to people and hope they enjoy it. So it's always a bit of fun. But I think, Dan, wasn't it just before Infinity War came out, Marvel? I think I turned to you, didn't I? I said, "Oh,
you did.
I really fancy doing something that's kind of similar to what I'm doing now, but more versatile." Because you can't talk to people in hospital beds about Marvel films. You probably tip them over the edge, and that's not what you need. You need to it's a different audience. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. But it's very niche, and I think over the years we've been talking about comics and popular culture, and I think we've got similar interests, and albeit silly interests, they are similar. And I think I said to you, do you want to give it a go? Just see how the first episode happened. And sure enough, we did. We went to the conservatory was it the summer?
It was sort of towards the end of May.
20th of May. Actually. It was, yeah. And sat in a roasting conservatory with the door open, with the birds shouting away, and the cats yelping. And yeah, we smashed out our first episode, which was quite a decent 40 odd minutes. And I think it really started from there, wasn't it? It was a snap of the finger, Infinity what? And it's our Infinity War. Was a film review. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't what do we think is going to happen? So no, that was how we all started. And sure enough, we enjoyed it, and we then went off from there. Did TV shows, film reviews, and the rest of it, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of really explains the next question as well. Why did the name change from the weekly roundup with Alex and Dan? I mean, this is very precise. I actually went back through my WhatsApp chats earlier. I was talking to Joey from Morbid Mundane. I'm dropping names here. I've known Joey for a very long time. We've been friends since, probably the late 90s. And he actually suggested that a rename would probably make us more accessible for listeners to find us. I mean, he did the same. He went from Casey Design to Morbid Mundane. I mean, you can find him on all the socials. Go get yourself some Garms. They're absolutely delicious and morbid.
Always a good birthday and Christmas present. And I think I've got Joey's details in our description, in the episode description. Always do anyway. So have a look. His artwork is phenomenal, and whether he likes it or not, he's our official channel artist. So a lot of love for Joey.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I spoke to my other half about it as well, Claire, and she said, well, you don't really do roundups anymore. You dive into different subjects. And of course, I mean, some of them aren't always pop culture related. As I say, we did conspiracy theories, the Mandela effect. We talked about urban legends and folklore.
Divas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we're sort of talking about things that you just go down and talk to your mates about at the pub. So it seemed only fair that we changed the name, and I actually drew on the name on the topic back from when we first started. I used to work for Tesco, and one of my colleagues said, "Well, why didn't you just call yourself something simple like On the Topic? Because you're not going to be really rounding up on news every week. You're going to be discussing film reviews and stuff like that." So, I mean, it was quite a quick turnaround for us, really.
It was overnight, wasn't it? And
was overnight.
And I think, hindsight is a wonderful thing. So perhaps retrospectively, I think it's probably the right thing to do because, in the last, 10, 11 months of current kind of lockdown and quarantine, there ain't an awful lot of news going on. So, so the channel would have probably dried up in its truest form. Had we not have kind of continued to do kind of the stuff that we really wanted to, which was, spin-offs and topical stuff and getting to the weird and the wonderful and the research. So it was probably a matter of time before we would have come a bit unstuck. But as you say, Dan, we started to do other stuff, and committing to a weekly schedule isn't always easy. And I think everyone's situation is different, but I think ours individually during the course of quarantine has been quite challenging to keep to that kind of timeline. So it wasn't really keeping true to our kind of channel either. So being able to record when we can, I think there's another question coming about, how have we managed to keep on the air, so to speak, during quarantine, but kind of doing a new format and to a new name, I think is more true to what we wanted to kind of do. And I think it's given us, as you say, Dan, that creativity, which perhaps we wouldn't have had the right to do if we went with a weekly roundup. It just didn't really make any sense. So no, it was a really good kind of observation from Joey, and we always take feedback from our listeners, the good, bad, and the otherwise. And I think that was a really good kind of insight and kind of really helped us kind of just take stock. And I'm just glad we did, because we can cover any topic we want to, and I think we've got a. Either in the past or in the future, depending when this drops, going back to time travel now, Dan. We're looking at our most anticipated, and there'll be things in there about, getting more within the community down South Sea and engaging our listeners more in terms of, local creatives and likes. We do that under the weekly roundup. So, it just gives us more of a scope to be able to broaden our horizons, and I think it's all for the better.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect most anticipated 21 would have probably dropped before this episode. So it's definitely one worth checking out, because, I mean, every year we sort of talk about sort of pop culture we're looking forward to in the year. And I think from a listener's point of view and sort of seeing what we've received is actually a lot more different. And the episode is probably going to be a little bit different for us this year. And some of the responses, I mean, I totally get it. Totally get it. Definitely an episode that's going to be worth listening to, whether it's out now or not. Say time travel. Here we go.
Get your head around that.
Next question is date of the first ever podcast.
I think I dropped that one already. 20th of May, 2018.
Infinity War.
Yeah, Infinity War, which actually is one of our, again, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but it is one of our most popular downloaded or streamed episodes. I guess people probably go back to where we all began, had listened to see how different we are. We were different. We were finding our feet, but I think it's still quite a polished episode. But yeah, it's the film review of the penultimate Phase 3 films.
I remember sort of feeling a bit awkward, I think, for the first time recording that episode, because it's something that I've never sort of done creatively. Like, I come from a musical background where I used to be in a band. So just being able to just talking about stuff was just a new concept for me. And I mean, I said I'll get more into it about sort of managing through COVID, but I had to learn new creative outputs. So doing episode artwork, stuff that I just wasn't familiar with, but I like to think I'm a bit of a fast learner, and I sort of picked it up. But no, I mean, it's been a great experience since May 2018, and I say learning some of the stuff that I have now. Who knows? It's
yeah, and then the new 100% and new skills, right? Because I think we've recently been referred to as a pubcast, and I think that's probably a compliment, because if people feel as though they're part of the conversation and they're comfortable, that is probably the biggest compliment. And even myself doing radio, that's, you've always got to present to someone who's not there, and it's really quite an odd concept. But that's even different from that, because it's us two talking to one another, pretending as though no one's there, and it's even more difficult, because it's not just me in the studio with the on-air red light on and working the desk. It's two blokes behind a mic, so it's different again for me as well. But no, it's been really good. Jesus, what now? 3 years or so?
It'll be coming up to 3 years in May.
May, yeah. So really good learning experience, and we're learning every week, right? It's every episode we drop we're learning something new. So no, it's good fun. It is good fun.
I still get pre-recording jitters. It's almost like that adrenaline rush before you sort of go on stage, and once you sort of get into it, like, it's great. Like, it's so I suppose empowering. It's quite cool. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I used to. I think back in the day when we were together in the same room, because I guess there was a lot of pressure, right? I mean, we'd edit out the mistakes. Don't do that so often, because I think we're quite mature now in the way we present together. But no, not more often than not, I don't personally. But I don't know, maybe that's because we're behind the mic and I'm probably more used to the radio than I am in person. But no, that's interesting insight there, Dan.
I suppose we've sort of been getting to know each other as well as we've sort of gone along. So I suppose, I mean, time's relevant. I suppose in the time we have known each other, it's not really been that long.
No. It's
fun. It's good fun.
Yeah, that's why these episodes are good, right? Because we learn about each other and our backstories, and we keep on referring to. But Dan's growing up as an adolescent, going to cinema, taking young ladies out, and going to blockbusters and all the rest of it. It's a bit of nostalgia, and we learn. So it's good fun.
It really is.
It's good fun. So that was the date of the first ever podcast. Believe it or not, that was the question, but we had a different answer. How have you managed through COVID, and are things now back on track? And that's a really good question, Leah, because we had to kind of re-find ourselves in our own groove. It's, as I say, we were together in the room for a good 2 years. Bounce off one each other, catching up beforehand, talking over a cup of tea, and then getting into it. And it was difficult, I think, for me personally, to be able to kind of jump straight into kind of an online format. We tried a number of different things, didn't we? Before, I mean, we tried different apps, and the quality's been appalling on your phone, and that didn't work. And I think we used Teams, but I think the setup was wrong in retrospect. It wasn't. I say Teams isn't Microsoft Teams is a bad format, but we've settled, I think, what most podcasters have done, Dan, because you did some research and you reached out to some communities, and we're now using Zoom. So it's open source, it's free, but I think we've managed now to use our own mics. So hopefully you can see and tell that the quality is better and it's crisper, and you don't get the tinniness, and you don't get laptop fans. I mean, Jesus, my one was so but if you want to hear a bad episode, just go to the Star Wars one. I think it was 3 hours it clocked in, which not I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's 3 hours long. But my work laptop, which I was doing it on, sounded like it's taking off. So we had our missteps, right? It was finding our feet, and it wasn't easy. And it's taken us 9 months to get to where we are now, and hopefully our listeners agree that it sounds better. But I guess it hasn't been easy to try and find not just the way we present to one another, because we can't see each other. And that interpersonal, I found it a little bit difficult at first, if I'm honest. To where we are now, which is actually more about the audio quality. And I think it's improving every week, but I think it's a learning curve, definitely for me, Dan. Not sure about you.
Yeah, I mean, using Zoom for the first couple of times, I'd forgotten to arm my microphone. So again, you'll sort of notice the quality in my voice. It was just going through the laptop, and I didn't even realise, and you'd hear the laptop fan go. I mean, just to sort of give people a bit of an idea of how we've sort of gotten through COVID. In 2019, we actually released 45 episodes, whereas last year we only did 26. Now, I don't think any creator sort of had to even imagined in 2020 that they'd have to reinvent themselves or the way they create content and interact, or how they interact with other people. But I suppose it's slightly different for podcasters. So we've still made it possible. But I don't think it's been a bad thing necessarily. I mean,
No.
I've learned new things. I mean, we've learned how to create audio posts for social media, or I've improved my Photoshop skills. I mean, that'll sort of show in the weird, creepy my face on the Queen and the photos. Christmas Day message. That's definitely one to sort of look at and go, yeah, Dan's improved on his Photoshop skills. Definitely. I mean, are we back on track? I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see in 2021. I say having to adapt. I mean, hopefully we can get a jab soon and we can be in the same room and have that.
I think
it's still natural, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think it gives us the ability to be able to be more versatile as well. You know, when we can travel, we can, pretty much do it whenever we want. You know, I was traveling, I think, 2019 quite a lot for work, and that was always a challenge to be able to do the work-life balance and then to be able to do a podcast and commit to that weekly schedule, which we talked about before. Whereas I can shove my mic and my my setup into a bag and a laptop, and I can do it forever, a hotel room or whatever, a bar. So I think it's given us skills that perhaps we can take forwards when hopefully things do return to some kind of normality. But I don't think you can ever beat spending time with someone, having a laugh and reading body language. I think that's still my preference. It's always good to catch up, isn't it, Dan? But
yeah, definitely.
I think yeah, you're right. We'll see how 2021 goes, but it's also opened up other kind of avenues for us. We've made some really good networks out on the socials and with local creatives. Although I'd want to do more last year, so from that respect, I don't think we're on track. Shifted to this year, and actually, I think they're also going through that journey.
Yeah,
so I think Silent Sky Services, Dan, we talked about before we went on air. They're up for a Zoom call. So our counterparts in other creative industries will also find their feet. So at some point, hopefully, we'll come together and people will be more kind of comfortable with being more agile in how they engage one another. So, yeah, I hope that we can make good on our aspirations for 2021. Get back on track.
Fingers crossed, mate. Can't wait. Buzzing.
So what have we got next then, Dan?
Your favourite episode so far and why?
That's a good one.
It's good question. I know what mine is, Alex.
What's yours?
I mean, for me, my favourite episode was favourite Harry Potter moments.
Oh, okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Harry Potter's not my strongest knowledge point, but I think it was good because we had Vicky as our first guest, and with the greatest respect, having a third person sort of really breaks things up a little bit for us, which is why I'd like to have more guests on the show. It was also a different recording location, so we used your gaff at Chichester Hospital Radio.
Proper studio with proper live mics and desk setup. It was beautiful. I do love the studio. It's wonderful.
It's just nice to get away from like the living room or I'm recording my bedroom at the moment. Being in a proper studio, the sound quality is so good on that episode.
Yeah, it's mind blowing.
I mean, I'd like to hopefully utilise that a bit more when things are safer. I mean, it's not the same over Teams or Zoom. It's just a pain in the arse. But yeah, I mean, it was just a good episode.
Lots of moments.
Really enjoyed it.
It's always a perennial favourite in this household. In fact, at the time of recording, past, present, or future, wherever you're listening to us, I think we're on the second movie. We work our way through usually around Christmas time, me and my wife, all the way through the movies, and we do love them. But as you say, it's a really good episode. It's one probably for if you're getting your head down at work or going for a long walk. It's quite a long one, but it's really good fun. I've got in there some sound bites just to break it up, and it's a great episode. So if you like your Potter films, there's definitely something in there for you. But that's probably one of my top 3, Dan. I think for me, it was conspiracy theories, and I'll tell you why. In the first volume, and it's because it was the first time we really had to kind of do our research. Because we before that point we tended to do episodes which we knew and loved, so movies, films, things close to our heart. But conspiracy theories, I mean, I'm not a tinfoil hat kind of person. I read as much as everyone else, but I don't kind of subscribe to some of the batshit crazy theories out there, and some of them are actually bonkers. Like lizard people and Avril Lavigne, the Beatles, and the rest of it. And it was a really good opportunity for me to kind of like just take it back to basics and just read up and learn and educate on all the wrong things, but all the, still be able to kind of then play it back to an audience. And we hadn't done that before. And it was just interesting to be able to read up and to then kind of tell my kind of spin on things, on my opinions and facts. As opposed to just saying, I really enjoy this, and this is why I think you should. This is what I've read. This is what I understand to be. Now, this is my opinion. There's a different kind of take to it, but it also then spun off Mandela effects, didn't it? Because someone in the social said, "Oh, have a look at this," and we then researched that, and that was good fun, and really enjoyed that episode. And then we then looked at folklore, and then Conspiracy Theories Volume 2, and I think it's kind of sparked a different kind of genre for us, which is going, listening, learning, understanding, and then playing back. And it's again, different kind of skill set, different kind of content, but I really enjoyed that one, and it's good fun. And there are some in there that about, which are moon landings and the likes. Then there's stuff in there about Beyonce, which is absolutely nuts.
Lizard.
It's just really good fun. Really good fun episode. So for me, it's Conspiracy Theories Volume 1, but I think that really sparked a different kind of direction for the episode, and a lot of fun being able to kind of, as I say, research and play back to the audience. It's just, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think the research malarkey sort of comes up more often now. I mean, when we had to do... we didn't have to do, we chose to talk about it. Hollywood Divas, like we went away and we sort of looked at all the different stories. And, I pulled one of my Hollywood Divas out of someone's autobiography. It wasn't that person in particular, but it was someone that he'd worked with. Definitely an episode worth checking out. I think that was our last episode of As the Weekly Roundup, if I recall.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a good one. Those episodes are definitely worth checking out. I say there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears go into those episodes.
Lots of mispronunciation and panic and not being able to read your notes. But no, it's all jokes aside, it's really good fun. And I guess that's why that's my favourite episode.
I mean, I suppose the next questions are probably for you, Alex. I mean, you're sort of more of a numbers guy.
Yeah, so our most successful episode. So if you flip it around, I mean, our first one is probably the most popular. As I say, I can only guess it's because people have gone back to the original to kind of see where we've started. Perhaps, hopefully, they've gone for the back catalogue. I think I said to you, Dan, that I really like looking at the numbers and seeing that people probably on board a more recent one and then go back and cherry pick the others. For me, that's a compliment because they can then choose an episode to their liking. They don't have to listen to it chronologically. So it's our Infinity War review, which has the most hits. But then the next one, which is really, really interesting, is a Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom review. So again, another film review, which I think we were middling ground, right, in terms of our thoughts of the film. Wasn't fantastic, missteps in a couple of different directions. God knows where they'll go for Dominion, which would be the third one at the time of recording. But yeah, that's another really close, very, very close behind in terms of listener streams and downloads, which it's great because people seek out, and we're great fans of Jurassic Park, so we plaster it everywhere, right? But it's good to know that people are interested in that content, and obviously film reviews are something that someone can get on board with because everyone has an opinion of the film, and we know that because the second part of the question, which is about social media interactions. We do get some hits, we do get some opinions. I mean, even Howard, who came onto the Star Wars once, the Jurassic. I think he called us out, didn't he? I know in a voice message, didn't he?
He did, yeah. We got
2019, and basically said, your opinion of Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom is absolutely dog shit. It's a terrible film. What are you talking about? But we always enjoy that kind of engagement. I guess social wise, Dan. I mean, you're probably more of the social media type perspective. Anything kind of come to mind in terms of like hits or engagement from the socials specifically?
I think it sort of generally sort of depends on what we're going to be talking about. I mean, sometimes you'll get something like where we talk about conspiracy theories, and we sort of plug in before each episode for about 2 or 3 weeks. And if it's the right thing, people will jump on it. So if someone sees Mandela Effect, they'll go, do you know what? I've got one. Or conspiracy theories. You need to talk about this. I mean, we try to avoid the really sort of controversial stuff because we don't want to upset people. That's not what we're about.
No.
But yeah, I say it sort of depends on what we're going to be talking about. I mean, most anticipated, we've got quite a lot.
Yeah. Oh, what, for 2021?
Yeah.
I mean, favourite villains or baddies, we got quite a lot of engagement with that, didn't we?
We did.
From people kind of going back to their childhood and recalling Trunchpole or Hans Gruber from Die Hard, even to 90s films. And I guess we tend to, personally, if I think back about the episodes, it tends to be, nostalgia. Yeah, you're right in the moment. But yeah, it's nostalgia, I think, Dan. It's about people thinking back and having fond memories. I think that's what we enjoy. We always talk about nostalgia, and I think that's what resonates with the listeners.
Retro gaming was one that got as well. Good episode.
That's actually, I think it's in our top 5 most downloaded and streamed, which is really interesting. But as well as gaming movies, which is odd because it's very niche and quite a failed genre. So it's interesting that actually those topics are high on the download list. But yeah, we have had some very, very successful hits and engagement. Social media wise, I guess how we measure it. By interaction, we have voice messages and people actually go out of their way to send us voice notes, which we absolutely love. We love hearing other listeners as well as reading the comments on the social media. So that's probably how we measure good engagement, not just the downloads and streams, but also how well someone kind of wants to be involved and engage with us, that's why we do it, right? We always say that's why we want to do the podcast. I said at the beginning of this kind of interview question sets, I enjoy it most when I'm engaged with people. So yeah, the more the merrier. The more voice messages, social media content, the better. That's why I enjoy the most from it.
Yeah, we're not getting a lot of voice messages at the moment. I'm trying to entice people with a lovely shiny on the topic badge. Get involved, people. Get involved.
Send us your details. Send us your messages, and yeah, we'll send out some swag.
Indeed. Next question. What are your goals for 2021?
Good question.
That is a good question. I mean, I've got 2 points that I want to make. I don't want to go into too much detail with the first one because that'll come up in a question shortly. Firstly, as you say, we love the interaction with other people. I'd like to have more guests on the show, and we had a couple of people lined up in 2020, literally just before lockdown, and then it just all fell through. And I mean, we did get Howard on the show for Star Wars, but it's just not the same over sort of Teams or Zoom. But I mean. No. We're making it work now. It seems to be a better way of doing things. I think the only problem with Zoom, you only get 40 minutes of recording time if there's more than 2 of you. But yeah, so we'll still get more onto the guests shortly. And I think it'd be cool to try and get a bit more merch out. I've had friends that say, if you did a On the Topic t-shirt, I'd probably buy it.
Okay. We'll create an Etsy store. slap our merch out there. That's really good to know. I mean, my second one is same as you, Dan, which is, it'd be really good to get more closer to kind of our listeners and to third parties. So getting other people on the channel and getting more engagement. A good third of our content has probably come from listener recommendations. I think we, at the very beginning of this, we kind of asked people, what do you want to hear? What kind of topics? And we built up quite a nice backlog and catalogue of episode ideas. So it'd be quite nice to kind of get more from the listeners. And we've already got a couple to say that we're going to be recording at least in the first half of 2021. I think the second one, the only one for me, and it's no real different from before, but with a different kind of spin on it, is probably, it'd be great if nothing else, this just took people's minds off whatever current situation they find themselves in. So I love the idea, if you're listening to this now and you're Leah, who's perhaps behind a laptop hurriedly making notes, or perhaps if you're a listener, going for a walk, doing the morning or the evening commute to and from work. If you're you shouldn't be doing this, you should be concentrating. But if you got this on the background and you're cramming for an exam or something, as long as we can take your mind off it, and you feel like you're in the pub with us, or you feel as you're in the room with us and you're part of the conversation, that's all I really want. Or more engagement from people. I just want to make sure that we are providing content which takes people's minds off current situations. And that's it, Dan. Nothing complex, nothing more than that. Just good, simple, good wishes for those who listen to us.
I think that's a nice goal. You say whether there's a pandemic or not. I mean, we all sort of go through different walks of life, and we all have different experiences. To take someone's mind away from something that's crap going on in their lives, I mean, that means the world to me. I mean, wherever you are in the world, I mean, we have listeners from 13 various countries, which we discovered just before Christmas. I mean, that blows my mind.
Yeah,
if we're doing something for them, I mean, that's it, mate. That's any goal covered for however long we do this.
100%.
Oh boy. I mean, the next question is a biggie.
Yeah. So what are your, had any exciting guests, or have you had any exciting guests on the show? Or are there any planned to be on there soon? I mean, Dan, you've already mentioned, I guess there are only two guests so far. It's been Vicky for favourite Harry Potter moments, which is great fun, as we say, and How to Star Wars, which was a bumper episode. And obviously they both 100% subject matter experts. They both knew things that I hadn't even considered or knew about. So really in depth, really good fun. And actually we learned a lot, I think, I did personally from those conversations and from those people. And kind of that's what I want to do more of. I want to learn from other people's knowledge and their backgrounds and the things they enjoy, because you can genuinely hear someone, be very ecstatic about the topic of conversation. Howard clearly has a lot of investment, quite literally. I know he has quite a large, sizable Lego collection of Star Wars Lego, but he loves Star Wars. Vicky knows everything about Harry Potter. So to get those kind of people on is just phenomenal, because, we scratch the surface, probably no more than you listening to us, at home or, driving in the car, walking around at work, wherever. We probably know of a similar amount, but it's really good to get these experts in, because I love to learn. I guess guests coming up. Well, Dan, I think you can probably kick us off with a couple where you've had recent conversations.
Yeah, so I was talking to Silent Sky Services the other night on Instagram, and they're a great team. I'd love to get to talk to more, especially they've got a documentary on YouTube, a different perspective of Portsmouth, which was recorded throughout lockdown, and it just looks absolutely stunning. So I'm looking forward to sort of finding out their origins and their stories. And I mean, how do you get into doing a documentary and all the blood, sweat and tears that must go into that? We've had Brad from Strong Island Recordings lined up last year. I mean, unfortunately that did fall through, and while we've been sort of trying to find our way, hopefully 2021 we can sort of get him on. I always talk to him on Twitter, actually. Really fascinating guy, and sort of very invested in the Portsmouth creatives. So I'd love to sort of get to know him a bit better and actually sort of talk to him. I think that could be an absolutely blinding episode as well.
Yeah, and there's others, like perhaps going back to Peter from About My Area, Portsmouth. I had a great conversation with Peter. He's a recently ex-head teacher who's purchased this website. That's a thing. He's taken over control of it, and the responsibility is phenomenal because a lot of people do turn to his kind of website and his content for news about the area. And sometimes he was commenting to me that he'll break the news before local outlets do, which is the news in Portsmouth. Let alone other things are engaging in terms of topics of conversation or wider. And him and his family run it. So it'd be really good, I guess, to have Peter on, talk about, where they've come from, where they're going and what they're going to be doing. Because he's a great guy and we had a great conversation a couple of months ago. I think we talked before, I think, Dan, about Game Over. So it's a real niche kind of venue, which is literally stone's throw. I can't really see out look out the window now. I can't really see it, but I know it's there. As a basement gaming venue. They've got all these retro gamings, kind of consoles, sofas. It's a bit of a den of all this kind of content in like a basement of old Portsmouth. So it's full of history and it's really niche. There's the guys at Dice, which is a great kind of board game cafe. We've been there before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Some a couple of years ago, which is great. I'm sure they've got some interesting stuff to tell. It's a niche kind of venue. How have they done in lockdown? What they got coming up? How are they going to cater for their punters in the brave new world? Even to room 237. So that's before it was back in Elm Grove for me in Portsmouth. That's now moved to the top of Albert Road. Again, I'm alienating some of our foreign listeners, but there's just places in Portsmouth. But it's a comic book shop, and comic book shops been on decline for the last probably 10 to 15 years, if not before. So he's in different guises, managed to kind of reinvent himself and to move venues and still stay relevant or still stay afloat when others have gone under. So it'd be really good to kind of start engaging kind of local creatives and local shop owners and understand their story about where they've come from, where they're going, because I think that's really interesting. And it's not just about people from Portsmouth; it's about people telling their stories. Human culture has always been about telling stories. Look at caveman scrawls on the walls. Look at the hieroglyphics in tombs. It's all about telling a story, and that's where people get their knowledge. That's where they get their anecdotes. And that's where they get their lessons. And I think it'd be really interesting to kind of learn people's stories, because it's not just about the area. It's not about Portsmouth. So you don't live in Portsmouth, that's fine. It's actually they've still got something interesting to tell, and I think that's kind of what I want to kind of tap into in 2021, because I think everyone's got an experience that they can share, and it doesn't matter if you're in Australia, where as Dan said, we've learned that we've actually grown exponentially apparently with our Spotify Wrapped, because we're through Anchor. And they're under now Spotify. So we know we've got a growing audience in Australia, which is amazing, it's immense. But, from Eastern Europe to close to home, it's regardless, there's still something in there which hopefully can resonate with a lot of our listeners. So that's what I'm looking forward to, Dan, I think. And getting more.
Yeah, totally agree. I think there's stories to tell and there's lessons to learn from them. And I think something interesting came up in Most Anticipated 2021, where someone asked for a reunion of my old band. Now, that's just not going to be possible. Friendship dynamics have changed, but I still talk to all of them. And it's given me an idea. It won't be the reunion that people necessarily want. And if the guys are up for, so at the moment, I don't know if this is going to be possible. But it'd be nice to sort of do one-to-ones with them, see what they've learned from being in a young band. We were only sort of in our late teens to early 20s when we did it, and we only lasted 2 years. But I'm sure there's something there for especially young bands now to sort of learn from. And I just think it'll be a good experience for people if I can make it happen. And I'm sure there's something nostalgic there for me to sort of tell you. Things that happened to me when I was in that band and the things we got up to.
Yeah.
But say,
although don't they say what happens on tour stays on tour? I'm not sure if it quite applies here, but maybe you shouldn't tell all your stories, Dan.
no, I mean sadly there were no tours, but there's definitely some weird going ons in that band. Say some I can tell, some I probably won't tell. It's a bit weird. I think we might have skipped a question, but I know it sort of goes on about what goals for 2021. But what are your ultimate goals for this podcast? So I think we sort of really much covered one, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same, which is just more the same of just taking people's mind off things, but also just engaging local creators. I think for me, Dan, they are one and the same.
Yeah. I suppose you always sort of like to think a little bit bigger, and you sort of get to a point where once we sort of get used to interviewing people, maybe sort of start to interview bigger bands or maybe actors and actresses, if that's ever possible. I mean, is it possible to get signed to a podcast network or get some sort of sponsorship? Because I mean, how great would it be if we could get paid a little bit of money for doing what we love?
Oh, it'd be phenomenal. And people have made a living out of it. It's just, it's probably find those opportunities. And I think, as you say, there's nothing wrong with aiming high and trying your best. And there are networks out there, as you say. So yeah, perhaps that's the ultimate goal for the podcast. Yeah, 100%. I think we're at a current barrier at the moment. Let's smash through that. Let's get to more people. Let's get more connected, and let's get more opportunities. Why not? That's a great idea.
I'll tell you what, I'd love to interview the gospel youth. I'll tell you what, mate, that's it. Once I interview them, done.
That's it.
That's the dream. We'll just crack on as normal.
We're done.
That's it. We're done. No, I'm joking. I mean, it is a dream, and if that's sort of like a stepping stone to be able to do bigger things, then so be it. But yeah, that bit of Ports of Royalty in that band as well. Drummer, good band. Go check them out.
And we've got a couple of freebies thrown in there, I guess, haven't we, Dan? Are these from the listeners? So we've got what do you both do as day jobs? And how is most of your free time spent when you aren't working or podcasting?
That's a good question.
So, Dan, what do you do? What do you do, Dan?
So I am an accounts receivable officer at my local council. So I work for Portsmouth City Council. I'm busy dealing with setting up customers on accounts receivable so we can invoice them, dealing with credit memos, refunds, all sorts of various things that people probably wouldn't necessarily understand, because even now I don't understand some of the things I do or how they tie in, but I just do it because that's what I'm told. But when I'm not working or podcasting, I don't know, just a bit of a pop culturist, I guess. I like to watch films, watch TV series, do a little bit of photography now and again. I haven't really had time to sort of dabble in that. One of the reasons I'm looking forward to talking to Stone and Sky Service is that we're both hobbyists with drones, and we love taking photography on those as well. And of course, I'm a musician. So as you know, I used to be in a band, but I still write a little bit of music now and again. I've got a SoundCloud where, I don't do any vocals, but people can listen to my music. And some people have actually sort of played it out loud, and their other half gone, "Oh, who's that? Sounds really good." I wouldn't say I'm that good. I'm just being humble, I guess.
That's good stuff. Perfect. So for me, no one ever says I want to do this when they finish university or school, right? But I am an internal consultant for an insurance company, but I actually don't do any insurance stuff. It's all business stuff, which is quite good. To actually get to meet lots of people. Quite a large insurance company, so you get to meet lots and lots of people, and just problem solve. More often than not, it's about people, it's about process. So it's about understanding how can we get the best out of people and help them. And it's a really good job. I really enjoy it. But as I said, if you said to me, 15, 20 years ago, what would you see yourself doing? No one ever says insurance. And no one ever knows what a consultant does. But that's kind of what I do. I don't really have an awful lot of spare time. I've got a little boy, so he takes up a lot of time, which is great. It's great fun to be a new parent. Any other time I have, it's probably similar to Dan. Watching movies, if I can steal a couple of hours here and there. Netflix shows, streaming services, bit of gaming, bit of Xbox, bit of PlayStation, bit of PC. But that's quite rare because there's not an awful lot of time left. And then the rest of it's just radio. So doing radio down at St. Richard's, which is great fun. I say, give something back to the community. And hope to take people's minds off their current situation when they find themselves in hospital. So yeah, it's good fun, varied. But yeah, what little time I do have is taken up with lots of interesting, varied bits and pieces.
I guess it's fair to say we're not a dull pair of podcasters.
Hopefully not. Some people may go, yeah, that's bloody boring, bloody insurance and council folk. But no, it's how you pay your bills. But if you do like it, then all the better. But no, I think we definitely make use of our time, and hopefully the experience we have play through in the episodes that we record and we put out there.
Yeah, definitely. I think the pandemic as well has probably impacted both our jobs. There have been days where we were probably set up to record a podcast and one of us would be burnt out and we'll just be like, can we move it? I'm just absolutely knackered today. But we still make it work. We still do it. I suppose I'll go back to the question of how have you adapted to recording through coronavirus? That's it. I mean, we always wanted to give our 100% full energy into these episodes and we'll make it work.
There you go. You've got to do what you enjoy. And I think hopefully people can kind of hear that as it comes through on the episodes. But yeah, that wraps us up, Dan, isn't it? That's all the questions so far.
That's it. That's all the questions covered.
Beautiful. And they're really good questions.
I was going to say, it's very much a too long, didn't listen. Please go check out the article. And again, Leah Holford can be found on @It's Leah Holford on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then her blog is itsleahholford.wordpress.com. And of course, if you want to get in touch with us, we're on all the social medias as well. So we're at On The Topic Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, you can leave us a voice message through Anchor.
You can. All of these things, actually, including Leah's contact details in the description below of this episode. And on there's a link. All you got to do is click on the link and you can actually use your mobile device that you're listening on, no doubt, to record a voice message and be directly in the show, as others have done in previous episodes and seasons. So if it's just a hello, how you doing? I'm from blah country, or I've got a question, or if you're like Howard, which you disagree with one of our episodes, fine. Why not? Because actually we enjoy that and it's really good to hear your voice and for you to be part of the show. So get in contact, leave us a message, and be part of the show, because as I say, that's what we look forward to, that's what we enjoy. And it's just nice to know that you guys are out there. So get in contact.
Yeah, we're in a bit of an episode limbo as well, because at the time of recording, I actually don't know if most anticipated is going to have dropped yet, or if it's going to drop. Just keep an eye on the socials. We'll keep you posted. We'll start figuring things out and what the next episode is going to be.
Too right.
Damn time travel.
I know. But for another week, I guess I'm Alex.
I'm Dan.
And we'll see you next time.